Hey, welcome to the All of You podcast.
We're your hosts. I'm Siobhan Roy.
And I'm Dave Martinell.
Our relationship hasn't always been easy. Especially in the beginning, we were getting in the worst conflicts that sent us down a path of deep healing and inner work in order to get the relationship that we wanted.
So whether you're on your own healing journey or just looking to improve your relationships overall, we hope that by sharing our lessons and struggles, we help you along your way.
And with that, welcome to the podcast where we accept all of you.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I really am. I think I'm doing really good. But do you want to know why I think I'm doing so good?
Why is that?
Because we have a lot of stressful things in our life right now, and we've divided up who's owning each part. And I think you have the more stressful and hard ones on your plate, and I have fully surrendered that you've got it and I don't worry about them. So I am a little bit
You're chilling.
I'm like, oh no.
You know what one thing we forgot about?
What?
Banjo.
Our dog?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Who's got banjo?
My mom.
Oh, your
He's
mom
in my
has.
mom's house. Would you not know he hasn't been here for over a day?
I just for the moment,
You just hop on the mic and wonder where the dog is?
No, like the moment when you were saying that, I realized like, okay, well, my mind went to like where are all the moving parts going on in the world right now, and in our world, in Shiv and Dave's world, and it was like this momentary freak out of like we forgot one. And it's banjo. Who's got banjo? Who's on banjo coverage? Like we're covering man to man on all our obstacles right now, and we didn't assign banjo. We did assign banjo though. We assigned him to your mom.
There's like I feel like we've never talked about it, but I take care of banjo.
Yeah, you do.
I did bring banjo in.
Yeah, you're banjo duty.
He's at my mom's house because we're getting concrete poured on
so
Tuesday.
So we did assign him somebody to watch him, and it's your mom.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it must be nice to feel not stressed.
It's really great. How are you doing?
I'm okay. I'm definitely, I admitted to you today that I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed and I need to outsource some things. I opened up too many cans of worms around and I'm feeling a little chaotic every day. And I woke up in the night. Like if I don't like waking up in the night. I like to sleep through the night. I mean, I guess probably everyone does, but I feel as though lately I've been waking up a little too often, and that kind of is alerting me that I need to really delegate out some of the responsibilities. Like I have to manage all of it. It's fine. I got it, but the labor is running a project and doing all the labor is intense. So I wasn't planning on doing that. And then I think I freaked out slightly about how much money we were spending. And so I was like, I'll just do all of the labor myself. And now I'm like, I need to outsource some labor.
Yeah.
Because editing the podcast and like doing some of our podcast duties and other ventures that we've been on have fallen a little bit on the back burner, and I don't like that. So I'm not in a bad place. I'm not so stressed, but I'm definitely aware that the mode I'm in is not sustainable.
I would agree with that.
I got the star power like in Mario where you get the star and it's like and you're like killing everybody, you know?
Wait, but don't you have to like step on a star to get that?
You have to hit the box and then the star comes out and then you get it.
What box did you hit? Are you taking performance enhancing drugs?
No, it might be Magic Mind.
Oh.
Plug Magic Mind / all of you podcasts. Go buy it. I think it works. It's an affiliate link if you're interested in Magic Mind. It might be my star power.
You think so?
It could. Maybe.
Yeah,
I was on the Celsius game for a while, and not to speak bad about Celsius.
Sponsored.
No, not sponsored. Shame on you, Celsius. No, I don't know. I don't know what the whole. Did you know about the whole story with Celsius?
No.
They got banned in Canada.
Get out.
Yeah, they have some thing. Like, honestly, I think it might be, don't quote me, but it might be just too much caffeine. They have like 200 milligrams of caffeine per can.
No
It's
wonder
pretty
I
wild.
feel so good on those bad boys.
Yeah, it's
I
like
enjoy them.
pure heroin.
Well,
You're injecting caffeine. But Magic Mind has matcha and like some other things and mushrooms, and so it's a lot more organic. I don't know. I'm on the Magic Mind train right now. I'm liking it.
yeah, it helps. Like, I don't know. It's like a feel good, not like a jolt of caffeine where you're like off to the races, but it's like a more natural, constant.
I don't know. I have really bad ADD, and since I don't take medication for it now, I struggle with my mind, and that's why I open up too many cans of worms.
That's what happened. That was the Mario star.
Was
you not being on
medication for my ADD? Probably, yeah. But it didn't align anymore. I don't want to be on that. So all to say, the star power runs out slowly, and I know that the mode I'm in is just not sustainable. And so I have to come up with a plan to outsource some things so that I can have a more sustainable work-life balance. And I haven't had it's been pretty go. I mean, I've been up late some nights. I've been taking care of myself still. It's not like I'm working 16-hour days, but I'm pushing it a little hard, I'd say, on the physical aspect.
I would agree with
and
that.
I'd like to get back to yoga because I still want to be physical, but I want to be flexible as well. And so I've been strength training with all of the labor I've been doing, but it's time to get back in yoga and stretch my body a little too.
Yeah, I also think it's important to provide a little context of what's going on. I think we did the other week, but if you didn't listen to that episode, we have a bathroom that Dave has demoed and is remodeling, an entire yard that is being re-landscaped by hand by Dave, a driveway being put in. We have the girls home for summer, and they're home half the time, and we're planning a wedding. So
yeah, on our side time. Oh, and yeah, and
and we have a podcast
and other things as well. Yeah, we have a lot in the works.
Yeah, so a lot of cans of worms.
Yeah, and overall, I think I was explaining it to you today. Like, I'm not complaining, and I'm not in a like I need to take things off my plate yet. But I do know it's like if you're in a playoff game in a sport, and it's like you're on this high, you're being challenged. You're playing against a really good team, and you're being challenged. Like those seasons where you're being challenged a lot are good for you. So like this season right now is really good for me, and I'm enjoying it. But you can't play like that all the time. Like there's a reason why the playoffs are at the end of the season and not all year long. It's not that. So it's
really.
Like,
do you feel like they dig deeper and ball harder at the end?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. Especially like in the NBA.
They don't lay it all on the court every
Not
game?
unless they're playing a team that is like it's an important game where they want to leg up or they're chasing a ranking. A lot of teams tank during the season a little bit if they have their star players like need a rest. They'll pull, like LeBron will sit to rest a game, or Steph Curry will sit to rest a game so that they don't get injured and overwork. Like on a back-to-back nights, they'll sit the second night. So yeah, and so I need to get back to a more regular season sustainable rate, and right now I'm in playoff mode, and that's okay. Like it's great. I actually am enjoying it, but I just know that I'm aware that it's not sustainable, and now I'm not looking for like when's it going to slow down. It's going to be the next few months, but I'm looking at little ways I can maintain my mental health through this season. Really, I don't want to get snappy. So I'm really cautious of my energy right now, and a little bit like, okay, I more than ever need to take care of myself.
Yeah. How do you feel you're doing at that?
normally I would say I'm like a 8 or 9 at that. And right now I'm probably like a 6, maybe a 7 some days. But I am still doing it. But I haven't been meditating as often because I'm just so physically exhausted. But so I want to like get into bed, and that's not good. I need to get back to, we still do meditate, but we used to meditate every single night. In the last couple weeks, it's slipped a little bit. So I gotta get back on track. I'm aware of the slippage, and it's not a bad thing in a short time. Like health and wellness and like my practice is so important to me, but I do think that there is a balance to knowing when it's like go time. Like now is the time where it needs to be like a little, like you're always kind of balancing all the aspects of life and personal health and relational health and kids and work and finances. You can't let finances go completely and just have a good relationship. Your relationship will start to be affected by your bad financial health. Just like you can't let, the house go completely. So right now, house was on the back burner for so long. Like there was like 2-year span where we were just prioritizing our relationship, not the house at all. And because I didn't even know if we were going to sell it, to be honest, and move. And since deciding to commit to the house and do these upgrades, and I'm doing it myself this season, it's like, okay, now let me invest in this. And not that our relationship is the back burner, not that my mental health is the back burner, but I'm kind of like keeping tabs on it, but I'm prioritizing the bathroom remodel because we all 4 people sharing one bathroom is tough. And sometimes 2 people got to poo.
We ran into that this morning. It wasn't pretty.
And then there's a fight. Fighting to go poo is not a good thing. So, it's all just awareness and kind of keeping your temperature gauge on it. And I think I'm pretty good at that, but I can always get better. Super long-winded answer, but there you go.
Well, thank you for that. I feel like that was a thorough answer of how you're doing.
Yeah. So,
without further ado, today we want to talk about perfectionism, which,
dun, dun, dun.
It's like my least favorite thing.
Because it's going to make you be vulnerable?
Yeah, because it's probably one of the things, if not the thing I struggle with the most is perfectionism. And the thing about perfectionism is it holds you back from being vulnerable because you're actually afraid of people seeing that you're not perfect, because it's actually like you're hiding your shame. And so you're like, I don't want people to actually see me, because if they knew that I'm not perfect, that like they would actually see all this like shame inside of me. And so that's like what keeps you from being vulnerable. Like perfectionism and lack of vulnerability are go hand in hand. And so now I struggle with perfectionism, and I also hate being vulnerable. Very ironic for this podcast, but I do it because I don't
it's
want
good
to
for
be
you
that way, and I want to grow. But now I've got to be vulnerable about.
I think you should stop saying you hate being vulnerable.
You're right.
That might be unsolicited advice. Sorry, but
it is good because it is actually, you believe what you think about yourself. So any I am statement is a mantra that you're actually ingraining into your mind. So every time I say I hate being vulnerable, I'm actually ingraining into my mind that I hate being vulnerable, and I don't want to be. So I have to say, I'm working on becoming more vulnerable.
Like the Shiv I know, actually, when I met you, before we ever started doing this deeper healing work, you had a Brene Brown quote on your phone as your screensaver that was about vulnerability and being vulnerable. And so you wanted to be vulnerable. So I don't think saying you hate being vulnerable is actually true. I think you like to be vulnerable and you wish that you could be more. I think you just have struggled with it.
I want to be more vulnerable, mostly because without vulnerability, you can't authentically connect to people because it's like two robots, right? Like if no one's actually talking about their inner world and experience, there's really nothing to connect on. And I've always known that. So I want to be more vulnerable because I love connecting to people and I want to do that more. But it's deeply uncomfortable and I hate the feeling of being deeply uncomfortable.
Can I ask you a question?
Is it going to make me be vulnerable?
Would your body let you say the words, I love being vulnerable?
I could force them out.
You can?
Yeah.
Authentically?
Well, tell me if this sounds authentic. I'm already laughing. I love being vulnerable. Actually, yeah, that felt good.
Boom. Look
All
at
right.
you. See? Because you're just double-minded.
100% I'm double-minded about it. Yes.
Yeah, you're double. Like there's a part of you that doesn't want to be vulnerable, and I think I know what part that is. And there's a big part of you that loves vulnerability, that talks about vulnerability, that wanted to do a podcast on all of you, which is vulnerability.
Yes. I am acknowledging I am massively double-minded about it.
Yeah.
I believe in being vulnerable. I believe you can't have connection without vulnerability. I believe it's what helps others feel seen. I think it's actually the secret sauce of our podcast is no one, like, do you want to hear from people who are not actually sharing about themselves and that are like putting on a facade? No, that's not even remotely interesting. So I believe in it. It just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, because if I'm being real with you and I'm being vulnerable with you, I am showing you the parts of myself that I'm really embarrassed of, and I'm often like, and I'm still healing shame in areas inside of me, and I'm like, I don't really want you to see that. It's not pretty, and that's uncomfortable.
And do you think that that's the root of perfectionism, is trying to hide your vulnerability?
I think it is a facet of perfectionism.
Yeah, I think there's a self-talk in perfectionism for me that's like, I shouldn't be doing this unless I know, like, I think there's an assumption that I have that most people know like 100% about a subject. Like I could pull the world's best plumbers. Like I'm doing a bunch of plumbing right now, so that's in my mind. I could pull the world's like top like 20 plumbers, and I bet you anything they'll disagree on some stuff. Like one will be like, you use PEX line, and another one will be like, you gotta solder copper. Copper is the only way to go. And it's like there's like, so they're disagreeing on like the types of water lines to use, or like the, you know, there's code that how, but like even the top people are like top, and especially when it comes to art, the top artists disagree on how could they even agree. They do different kinds of art, you know?
Well, I think it all goes back to we see things through the lens of our own experiences that are unique to us. So if you've had enough bad experiences with copper, you're going to want to use whatever the not copper stuff is. And
PEX.
I'm not even going to pretend to talk plumbing. I
Let's
not go plumbing. I can't go a plumbing route with you, but, and I'd beg to
not have to go there.
Well, I would absolutely, I'd beg to not have to go there, but I also feel like most of our listeners don't know of or want to know of plumbing.
Didn't disagree. I think that we have some people that are,
I
think some people are joining this podcast to hear about plumbing and learn how to plumb.
I for sure think you're on performance enhancing drugs now. There's what? No, yeah, maybe our inner plumbing of our like our heart and our internal worlds.
Our heart, our mind, our soul.
Yeah, we are human plumbers, but I'm not a plumber of bathtubs.
Yeah. My point, I guess, was, does perfect even exist?
No.
So then why are we all trying to be perfect all the time? Can we just drop it? Like, can we just stop trying to be perfect all the time and admit that nobody is perfect and that everybody got to where they're at because somebody else helped them along the way?
Oh my gosh. That's like being like, can't you just heal already? Like, just like heal, bro. Like, no.
So that makes sense.
This is deep.
So it's,
like,
yeah.
If I could just not care, like if I could just heal my perfectionism.
You just popped my brain a little, like.
Yeah, it would already be done. I am actively working on this constantly. Like everything I work on, whether it's the podcast or work, like whatever it is, even art, like no matter what I'm doing, I have to talk myself through that it's okay. Like,
where does that wound come from? Like, so basically what I just heard you say is that perfectionism isn't a choice. It's a defense mechanism, or it's actually like a medicine. It's like
it's a defense mechanism.
Yeah. And it's to cover the wound or protect it.
Believing I'm not enough.
So more than a defense mechanism, it's a protection mechanism.
Yes.
So where does that wound come from?
It's a belief. I don't know exactly like the memory or the instance or exactly, like I haven't been able to pinpoint that within me, but I know it's a belief that I'm not good enough or like smart enough, like that's the word. That's where it comes from. And so if I'm showing you the art that I painted, I'm like, I have this like, oh, I don't want anyone to see it because they're not going to think it's good enough. Or like anything I do, I have this fear that people aren't going to think it's good. And that's a reflection of me and that I'm not good enough. So it's massively holds you back by you, I mean me, like when you have perfectionism, it holds you back because it's like, okay, if I don't put myself out there and if I don't show this to anyone, then I won't have to face the rejection and I won't have to face that I'm not enough. So I'm just going to stay in my safety zone and not try and not put myself out there. And then I won't have to feel rejected or embarrassed or feel those feelings of insecurity and not enoughness. I know I keep saying that, but I think that like, at least internally for me, that's like the place I go to.
Do you think that that's for most people?
In what I've read, that is a common thread. Like the feeling of not enoughness and perfectionism are very closely tied in most people's experience with it, whether they're aware of that or not. And I think it's probably important too to like point out on perfectionism, it's not in everything that I do. Like if the house is a little messy and you're coming over, I'm like, come on over. Like I'm not a perfectionist about that. But it's like there are certain things within me that it's more closely tied to where my perfectionism comes out.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point because I would say I'm most of the time not a perfectionist. Like most people that know me would not be like, oh, he's a perfectionist.
I wouldn't even, I'm actually jealous, if not a little bit mad at your lack of having to deal with perfectionism.
Yeah, but I still know there are ways that I can be a perfectionist. And I guess what I'm saying is that it affects us all in different ways. Some people are severely handicapped by it because maybe it affects them in multiple ways, like at work or at, in trying art or trying different things. I would say that I actually had a perfectionistic mentality when it came to anything artistic or creative, because I think for me it was like growing up in this, just idolizing skateboarding. To me, skateboarding has the best marketing and creative people on the planet are like flocked to skateboarding, especially in the early 2000s, like just marketing geniuses. And there's so full of so many creative people that flocked towards it. And I don't know, there's something about it just was so intimidating because it was so good. It didn't like inspire me to create. It scared me away from creating in any way. And that's not skateboarding's fault. That's not those people's fault. That's just a wound in me and an insecurity in me that I had. That was like comparing myself to some of the best creatives in the world. And I think even like with music, it stopped me from pursuing being a musician at all, is because of that perfectionism too. Like if I'm going to do it, I want to do it so well. I don't want to be a crappy musician. And you have to be okay with being crappy if you're going to try to learn something. So being a mediocre like photographer or filmer or painter or graphic artist was just like, I just couldn't do it. Something in me was too scared.
That's perfectionism for sure.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect me in many areas of my life, whereas it's more.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it affects all of us in some capacity. It's just about figuring out where those are and healing those wounds.
Yeah, and they're going to be unique to each person and their experiences.
Yeah, but it's so debilitating. That's why we need to talk about it more. Because if you're holding yourself back from doing something that inspires you, like basically as a human, we create. That's what we do. We create or we become robotic. And
or like either creating or consuming, I think. Or a robot.
I don't think that that's wrong or bad, but I think that everyone has some deep desire down somewhere in there to create something. And it might not be art, it might not be music, it might not be a podcast, it might not be a movie, it might be designing your landscape of your yard, or I don't know, could be anything, an American Girl doll, like I don't know, but a kid's toy, a kid's book, a whatever. And that's why we get so inspired by people who, like, we have a friend who wrote a children's book, and it's like, whoa, how amazing is that? That is so cool.
And she illustrated it.
Yeah. It's just so impressive. Cool. And why does that inspire me, even though I don't care to write a children's book? Because she's creating. She's doing the thing that she felt called to do and not listening to the perfectionism and overcoming the obstacle and doing it. And that's inspiring. That shows me that maybe my dreams are possible and I should try. It kind of gives you that permission to go, oh, I should try to do something. So we all need to overcome that voice in our head that's stopping us from doing that thing, or else it's going to literally leave you to being unfulfilled in your life.
Yeah. Unfulfilled. Yes. And I don't know if that's for everyone necessarily.
Well, maybe what somebody wants to do is become a mom, and that's okay. Like that's fine. Like whatever the mission is that inner voice is telling you to create, maybe it's children, maybe it's, I don't know, like but everyone has something that they are, I do believe every one of us has something inside that's like, I like doing this. And if your perfectionism is keeping you from doing that thing that you like to do, that's where the unfulfillment comes in.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be stuck doing a bunch of things you don't enjoy doing because you're too afraid to try the thing that you want to do. That was me. I like to talk.
Don't we all know it?
I like to talk, and I was too afraid to start a podcast. It's too scary. What if I say the wrong thing?
I still have that fear sometimes.
I say the wrong thing a lot. Sometimes I edit it out. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I think it's good and then I post it and other people don't like it. I know, it just is what it is.
Yeah, but how did you come to terms with like working through the fear?
It's people's perception. It's the rejection you talked about. Like, I think at the root of the perfectionism is being concerned about people's perception of you. And it's really hard to drop that perception. But to me, people pleasing and being overly concerned about what people think of you, people's perception of you, is actually more egotistical, because you are not only trying to be the person you want to be, but you're also trying to be viewed by them as the person don't want to just shine your light. You want to shine your light at everyone else, like they're mirrors, because I believe we're all mirrors for each other. And then you want them to reflect back at you that same light. And so people pleasing is like, I want to be great, but I want to be great through the lens of your mirror, instead of just realizing that they're mirrors for you. Yes, but I mean, and this is the number one thing I think that's helped me is realizing that not everyone's mirror is clean. Not if everyone around me is a mirror and they're all just mirroring back to me.
But when you say mirror and mirroring back to me, explain that.
So like, we look for validation through others, and this human experience is best with other humans. It's best lived with other humans because you have that lens. Like, it's almost like if a tree falls in the forest and no one sees it, did it even fall? If you don't have someone to mirror your experience, we're not grounded enough as humans in our nature to really validate our own experience fully. That's why we need to process with each other, and we need therapy, or we need other lenses, because if you're left alone, you're going to have a lot of flaws in your memory of the experience, and you're not going to have it dialed. Like, no human is perfectly dialed in how they perceive an experience. So we use the perception of others to help define our existence and help understand our existence. And they're all mirrors. And so we're all reflecting at each other all the time. Like, if I go do something cool and no one sees it, it's going to be cool, but I'm going to like it more if other people see it and are like, oh, look, that was a great job. I'm like, okay, cool. That was good. I mean, it's great to develop that not needing other people's perception, but I don't know if it's fully healthy to let go of it completely, because then you can go rogue and go on a like serial killer route and be like, look, I'm doing something cool. I believe I should do this. And everybody else is like, stop, you're killing people. and
the most extreme example you could get.
Okay, let me think of another one. Like, I think it's great. People are an asset, and their perception is a great asset to you. The number one key is learning how to have discernment about what's being mirrored back to you. So if I'm doing this podcast, I like doing it. It feels good. And my internal perception, my intuition is telling me that this is a great thing and I should keep doing it. And somebody hates on it and they're a hater, and I listen to their perception, I'm listening to a bad mirror, possibly. And it's going to keep me from doing the good thing. That we do that all the time. That happens to us all the time. We're stuck in circles where people are mirroring back to us negativity, and then we stay stuck. So learning how to discern, is this a person who I want to listen to or not? And I like listening to people who have been where I want to go, or at least are on their way. Like, they seem like they're on the way, or have some knowledge I don't have. If somebody has never done the thing, like if somebody was trying to tell us, critiquing our podcast, and they have never done anything like it, or have done any healing work or anything like that, I would have a hard time listening to that perception and really credit. Like, I would hear it, but I couldn't my discernment should tell me like that's not somebody to listen to, or if they're insecure and spewing negativity. But if you tell me like, hey, I think you should have done this or that or whatever, like you're a great mirror for me. So choosing your mirrors that you listen to is huge.
Yeah, I think that's the same principle of you are the sum of, I think, is it the 5 or 6 people you spend the most time with?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
But that is also roots in perfectionism, because perfectionism is being concerned about all the mirrors' perception of you. And if you're really, truly just listening to those 5, and those 5 are good, those 5 are telling you to go for it. Those 5 are telling you it's worth the risk. Those 5 are telling you it's okay to fail. And so are you listening to them, or are you too concerned about the 50 other people that maybe you went to high school with or junior high, or they bullied you in preschool? I don't know. But that's been you asked me like, how do I release the perfectionism a bit? And that's it, is releasing those other mirrors, like going like, I care about those people. They're not totally wrong, but 90% of what they're saying is probably wrong when it comes to some of the things that I am talking about. Or I just chose to not listen to them anymore. And I'm going to listen to the people who I trust more now.
That's a good approach. I think I take it a little slower.
Is that hard for you to release those other mirrors? You said you take it a little slower.
No, because I don't really think it's the other mirrors that are holding me back. Like, it's not like a specific group of people in my mind that I'm afraid of seeing what I'm doing and stopping me. It's like this not inherent, but this like feeling of, if I, create a reel, let's say, and I'm like, this caption isn't good enough. And for me, it's like, there isn't even like a, who is enough? Like, who is it good enough for? It's like literally just like, it's not good enough for like an unrealistic standard that I have. And I actually don't think if I worked on it for 10 more hours, it would ever get to good enough in my mind. Like,
so it's just a limiting belief.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, it's not good. It's not good enough. I got to do more. And so I've had to learn to like talk myself through that and go, I'm going to get better over time. Just put it out there. Like, my friend Courtney always says like, bless and release. It's like, it's fine. Like, you're going to get better over time. Like, know that you're learning and it's okay to be learning. And I'll like have to say that to myself. Like, it's okay to be new. It's okay to be learning. It's okay to not do this perfectly. There is no perfect. Like, I actually have to talk myself through that as I'm doing things when I catch myself being hypercritical. Like, I am my own worst critic. That's really where it comes in, is like, whenever I'm doing something, I'm criticizing how I do it. And it's not based on anyone else's opinions, then holding myself to a standard that I can't even obtain. And so for me, it's practicing awareness of when I'm doing it so that I can talk myself through it. So if I catch myself being a perfectionist and hypercritical over whatever it is I'm working on, I have to then talk to myself and go, there is no perfect. Just put it out there. Like, you're new, you're going to get better over time. And I would even say, like, this podcast is a great example, or like our Instagram's a great example. Like, the early content we put out, I was like, oh my gosh, cringy. I hate it. This is terrible. Like,
we were filming with a GoPro.
Yeah, and it wasn't
audio quality
was
terrible.
very good, but I had to say to myself, I have to start somewhere. I have to just get it out there, and I'm going to get better over time. And now I'll actually go to our Instagram and I'll kind of scroll it and be like, whoa, we've gotten so much better. And then I'll remind myself, and we're only getting better. We're going to keep iterating on this, but I'm I'm never going to get to the place of arrival that I am trying to obtain. And so I actually have to tell myself that as I'm working on things to be able to put things out into the world.
Yeah, it holds you back if you don't. And I mean, if you can literally convince yourself to never start something
Easily. Yeah. And I think also I'll feel the discomfort in my body really strongly when I'm like about to post something and I'm like, ugh, the caption sucks, or like, oh my gosh, I haven't got my hair done in a while. Like, I hate how this looks on, and I, don't like I'll nitpick it. And then I have to I catch myself doing that and going, no one else is going to be as critical of this as you are. Put it out there. And I have to talk myself through it. And I think that in itself is a healing journey, because it's this little baby steps of growth that I'm taking each time I'm able to talk myself through. It's okay to put yourself out there. It's okay if someone doesn't like it. It's okay if you get rejected. I did put a post out there and have a friend message me and say that they didn't like it. I did get massively rejected in that way. And when it happened, I was like, I have the tools to work through this. And I took the time that I needed and I used my tools and was like, all right, I'm okay. And now I'm like, I faced one of my biggest fears in this. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah. We have this belief that if you're going to put out something on the internet, you have to be 100% right. And that it would keep us so stuck. There'd be nothing on the internet.
But that can also apply to I have to nail this sales pitch or I'm not going to get the deal, and I have to do it perfectly, or I have to word this email correct or I'm not going to get a response. The perfectionistic pressure can be applied to any facet of our lives.
Yeah, and I think it comes from this belief too, maybe that people have that they can't change or can't disagree with themselves, and that they were supposed to be right all along, because it's people are afraid that they're going to get caught saying something or doing something and then no longer being cool or no longer being right. And it's that's fine. It's okay. If somebody showed me a post 5 years from now of a clip of our podcast and I was like, I can't believe you said this, I would literally look at them and say, I didn't. They'd be like, what do you mean? I'm like, that was me. That was a different version of me. If I disagree now, if I agreed with it, I would say, well, this was the perspective or whatever. And if I had disagreed with it, I'd go, oh yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that I put out that I disagreed with. And I have the right to change and grow, right? We evolve as a society, but yet we're not allowed to evolve as humans and make mistakes and fail and grow. That's so counterproductive.
Oh, that is a good point of we carry the weight of needing to be perfect because society will reject us. And I think it's not even just the weight of being perfect. We fear being our authentic selves because then you could be rejected, and your deepest, truest, most authentic self being rejected is so painful, or can be, depending on where you're at in your journey. And that's what keeps us from actually sharing authentically our stories as people. Or that's also why when we say hi to each other and everyone's like, how are you? And it's good, how are you? We don't say what's actually going on, and we're not always truly authentic because there is that little bit of fear of rejection that is I just want to be accepted. And I think that's also a really big part of the mission of all of you, is accepting ourselves and accepting others, and arriving at that place of just fully acceptance of we are imperfect and we are messy, and that's okay. And we have little parts of us that are wounded and broken and that are just imperfect. they're truly imperfect. And what the goal is to really arrive at a place of awareness of that and acceptance of that. Like, I am aware that I am a perfectionist, and that is actually my imperfection is my perfectionism. And I accept that about myself, and I hold space and compassion for it. And in that compassion, when my perfectionism arises and I'm being hypercritical about myself or something I'm working on or whatever it is, my compassion for myself is what eases the perfectionism and lets it go away. It's that compassion in going, hey, you're not perfect, but you're still lovable and you're still capable of putting good work into the world. And spoiler alert, perfectionism isn't even possible. You're good. Just go for it. And if it fails, you got yourself. And so it's like that compassion, that how we speak to ourselves is, for me, is the healing ointment of what helps with my perfectionism, is just speaking to myself how I would talk to a friend if they were going through something. Because how I really do speak to myself is as if I'm my worst critic, right? And I'm like, it's not good enough. Like, what do you think you're doing? Who are you to do this? And compassion says, speak to yourself as if you loved yourself and as if you're speaking to a dear friend or to your sister. And it goes, it speaks the truth. Like, yeah, you're not perfect, but whatever it is you're working on is great and it's worth putting out there. And you're never going to achieve perfectionism. Don't listen to the critic. Listen to the voice of love in your mind and go for it. And it's like encouraging. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you crushed it. I'm so fucking proud of you.
Well, I was literally about to say I don't do it perfectly. Because I don't.
I know how debilitating your perfectionism has been at times, and I'm just so proud of you that you've pushed through the hard feelings to work through it, and it's not there. You just have gotten stronger to face it.
Well, I think that's the moral of the story with anything, any hard feeling or anything that's hard. The goal is to just expand your capacity for holding it. So I'm learning to expand my capacity for holding the feelings of like discomfort of putting something out there, putting content out there that's like scary for me. I used to, you remember, I was like losing my mind every time we dropped an episode or dropped a post where I was the one speaking. I'd be like, can we just only do yours? I don't want to have to do it. Like, it's so uncomfortable. I'm so scared. And like, it's learning how to hold. The more you do it, it's like going to the gym, right? The more you lift weights, the more weights you can hold. The more discomfort I'm able to hold in my body, then I can like hold a little bit more. So it's like, it's just practicing it and you get stronger at it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's growth.
Mm.
I mean, I think of like a tree and doing a bunch of landscaping, so it's also in my mind lately, but digging out trees and roots, and the stronger they get, the more they can grow. The deeper their roots get, the more they can hold. They can hold, thousands of pounds in the air through the wind. But it's just developing that strength to be able to grow that big and strong. And, there are people who get more lucky breaks than others, for sure. Like there is that. But for the most part, we have a lot of control over our situations, and we have a lot of control over our outlook and how we respond to the uncontrollables in life. And when you respond well and you grow from it, you can do a lot more, and you're actually, those obstacles become your greatest blessing sometimes, or the things that you go through is what you grow through. I'm just proud of you for facing all those challenges and choosing that outlook to grow and not to cower.
Yeah, I think it comes, if I could boil it down to why, it's the future version of me that I want to be. Like, I see her, I know who she is and what she's like, and I want to be her. And so I just have to keep acting like her and doing what she would do so that I can get there. And it's a deeply uncomfortable process. But in order to become the me that I want to be, I have to do all these things. It's like, if you want to be physically fit, you have to work out.
Yeah.
Right? If I want to be the person in my mind that I can see, that I know I'm capable of, I have to do all the things she would do, even though right now all those things are really, really uncomfortable. I think I just have a belief that if I keep doing them, they'll probably always be a little uncomfortable, but my ability to hold that discomfort will become greater. And that is proving to be true.
Yeah.
One day at a time.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey has a great thing that he says where it's like, I think one time he was asked, like, who's your mentor? And he says, it's me in 10 years. The person that he's looking up to is always him in 10 years. And what a great way to live life, to try to make sure you hit that target, is keep your eye on who you want to be in 10 years. And then I think Hermosi has another one that's similar, where he's like, I think of the man that I want to be, and I ask myself the question of, what would I put that man through? And
Ooh.
what would I put him through? An easy life? Would I give him all the things that he needs to be comfortable, or would I put that man through a lot of discomfort and hard to be and have the character that, I want to have? And so what a great way to look at life, though. Like, I want to do those hard things, and no one wishes hard on them, but life is hard in general. So like, taking that outlook of, these hard things, these obstacles are what I need to get through in order to get to where I want to go, and start that thing that you want to start. Start painting every day because you want to be a good painter. Or, you got to start somewhere. You got to go to Michael's and look dumb and buy a canvas, and you don't know what types of canvases or anything, or like what types of brushes to use or what paints are good. And you just go and you just start and you just try to do the paint, and it's terrible. It looks like a 3-year-old drew it. And then the next one is a 5-year-old. And the next one's a 7-year-old. And you just keep going. But if you want to be a painter and that's what's calling your name, put in the work. It's so hard, though.
Yeah.
Because there's no short win. Any short-term win doesn't feel as good anyway, because it doesn't feel like it was short-term success. Just doesn't feel as earned, So it's long-term.
I don't know. I would take it.
Everyone would take it, but if we're honest, it doesn't come as rewarding. If you could get the success that's fought for, that you grinded and you put in that effort, you're gonna just feel so much. You're not gonna have imposter syndrome sitting up there and taking an Academy Award if you put in the work. If you got it right away, you might have that imposter syndrome. There's another quote, Chris Williamson, I think he quoted somebody else, but it said, short-term success, it can keep you stuck or make you stuck. Like, you get success doing something that you didn't really want to do, and then all of a sudden you blew up on the internet for this thing, and now you're in this box. But that's the unfulfilled life. Like, do we really want to take a life that is, you're being rewarded for the things that you're not really called to do? And perfectionism just keeps you stuck with like this, I don't want to go for it mentality because I'm too scared to try the thing.
Yeah.
Love you.
I love you. And I love all of you.
Bye.
Bye.